Hello and welcome to the Shack News Chattycast, the podcast that's already recorded all of its shows and just doles them out slowly every week. I'm Steve Watts.
And I'm your guest co-host, the inexplicable CEO of Shack News, Asif Khan.
Every week we pick a big topic, post about it on the Shack News Chatty, talk about it in detail with your comments fueling the discussion, hence Chattycast. Today, our guest is our young ward, Tyler Wood, the intern extraordinaire of Shack News. Tyler, say hi to the nice people.
Hello, nice people. Good to be here.
As I mentioned, Tyler is our intern, so we stick him with all the grunt work that no one else wants to do. So our big topic this week, we're going to be talking about player retention, which is sort of an odd, wordy concept. But basically, the strategies and ways that companies find ways to keep players playing their games long term instead of just playing them, getting done with them, and trading them in. It's a broad topic. It involves a lot of different strategies. So we're going to be sort of running the gamut of all those things. But before we do any of that, it's time to talk about what we are playing these days, and Tyler, as our guest, we're going to hit you first. What have you been up to lately?
A lot of Destiny the Taken King right now. Finally getting my Hunter almost to max rank and max light, so it's been a giant grind fest there.
Now, by max rank and max you don't mean level 40. You mean like 300 or whatever light, right?
Well, right now I'm at like 270 for light, but I'm at like level 39, so I'm like right at the end of it. What's sad is I got the like 2 weeks ago.
So, have you done the new raid?
No, I haven't had any time to do the raids yet. We're still looking for a third guy right now between me and my one friend. All of our other friends are currently playing it right now, but they're still shy. Like one of our buddies is like, "Oh, I'll do it." It's like, "You're level 25, buddy," and we already have it.
You're going to get eaten alive. You can't do this. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind watching him kind of just run in there all Leroy Jenkins style, but
it just fails spectacularly. Make sure you record it. Yeah, I think the Doc and I are going to be looking for a third to sort of, because I haven't done any of the raids, not just the Taken King raid. Like I sort of stopped around the time that the raids started rolling. So I haven't done any of the raids at all, and I think we kind of want to like find somebody who's experienced with some of them to just kind of walk us through the older ones, and then maybe we'll get to the newer one.
You should get Josh. That dude plays Destiny in his sleep.
Yeah, I know. Like Josh is one possibility, and another journalist that we've talked to that we happen to know is another possibility. So we're working on it. We're going to get there, I'm sure.
Is it Burt Reynolds?
It is Burt Reynolds. I don't know how you guessed that. That was a crazy random guess.
I always wanted to play Destiny with Burt Reynolds.
But yeah, so you've definitely been bit by the Destiny bug, as I think a lot of people in our office. What about Taken King? Did you play it continuously up until the Taken King came out, or did the Taken King draw you back?
Well, I bought it when it was all out already, so I just kind of did through all the normal story mode stuff first, and then went straight into the Taken King. So,
okay. So like you bought the what's it called, the
yeah,
it's not Game of the Year edition. It's something like that.
I'm trying to remember now.
The definitive.
Yeah, it's the one that has like all the expansions and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I got that and kind of, I mean, I got the expansion that provided all that stuff, and I just sort of like skipped to the Taken King. So I keep seeing these things that are like, level 18 House of Wolves mission or whatever. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'll probably go back to all that stuff eventually, but I could not care less about it right now as I'm still working through Taken King stuff. Have you been playing anything else aside from Destiny lately?
Let's see. I mean, I do a couple online MOBAs like League of Legends every so often with friends, and right now, story-wise, I've been trying to get through Okami again for Nintendo Wii.
That's surprisingly old school reference. Yeah, I actually never finished Okami. It's such a long game. It
is. Like, you beat the main story, and then there's even more after that. I'm just like, great, and then you realize that there's still more after. It's like, well, holy crap.
Yeah, it's like the ending of Lord of the Rings. Every time you think it's over,
it doesn't really stop.
there's a little more.
It's like, I can't wait to find the end of it, but it's still a long process.
Yeah. It's, probably upwards of 40, 50 hours. That's a lot for like an action platformer.
Yeah, but it keeps you entertained at least, to say the least.
Yeah, that's true. Asif, what have you been playing lately?
Okay, well, I actually have a new game for you.
Oh my goodness. I was expecting you to say Mario Maker.
Well, I have Mario Maker on, Mario Maker is on down there, and I played Rocket League with Josh last night, so I'm still playing those games, and I love those games. High Res, he posted this thing to the chatty last night. It's hex.frvr.com. It's like a puzzle game. It's also an app. It's browser-based. It works on Android and iOS, but it is really fun. It's like basically like a hexagon and kind of like Tetris-y, and you have these different pieces that you have to put together and make lines, and I spent about an hour playing it last night, so that's my new one.
Hex Tetris?
Kinda. You should try it out. It's hex.frvr.
But I will give it a shot.
Yeah. You'll give it a shit.
I'll give it a shit. Yeah.
But anyway, I was playing that last night. I want to give a shout out to Hi-Res for posting that to the chatty last night. But yeah, still playing Mario Maker. I finally, I was talking about it on the Chattycast last week. I unlocked the pipes, so now I can have other zones within a level.
Yeah.
Now I'm debating, do I make this one pipe in my level that's massive already and then make another massive thing to go through, or do I just kind of make it fun? So right now I'm still debating what to do there.
Have you done the thing where you like make a pipe just like instantly kill someone? Like it just goes into a pit of spikes?
I have a door like that. But the thing is, if you're quick, it doesn't kill you. But if you open the door and you just stand there for a second, it's on one of those little blocks that drops, so you're like dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I've made some doors that are pretty tricky. I don't want to give too many hints out on how to beat this level, but I've been working on it. I've been working on it for like 2 weeks.
Well, that's the thing that like I think is surprising about Mario Maker. It's this platform creation tool, like making this classic platformer in this style that everyone kind of recognizes. But I feel like a lot of people are using it to make basically like Mario puzzle games, and like you just said, like you don't want to give too many hints on how to finish this level, and it's like, well, that's not how most Mario levels work. It's just how a lot of these Mario Maker levels are working because people are designing them like boo houses, like.
Well, that's the thing.
How do you get to the end? I don't know. Figure it out,
Well, that's the thing. Once you give us the doors from the Boo House, it's like, okay. And then, once you unlock pipes, it's like, okay, well, now
now I can just screw people over.
I'm going to be a total dick now.
In hilarious ways.
Yeah, but I tried to balance it. I think Ozzy did a great job with some of his levels where they're difficult, but at the same time they're fun. And to me, it's like I've played a lot of these levels that other users create, and they're hard, but they're not fun, or they're fun and they're not difficult at all. You just beat them on the first try. There's a balance that Miyamoto and all the designers at Nintendo have always had, where it's like, yes, it's frustrating and you curse at your TV, but at the same time, it's beatable. It's not. They try to make it accessible to as many people as possible. So I'm trying to do the same with my level design. Like I said before, and I'll say this every time I'm on this show for the rest of the year, it's the best thing to happen to video games in 20 years.
I still think my favorite ones that I've been seeing is I see a lot of YouTube people are doing like either really, really complicated levels. Like one of them has like a Mario Maker level that has a 0.6% completion rate. And then I've seen other ones that kind of like
right.
They're a special kind of hell for those people, but we have there's one level that's like it just goes through one of the Zelda medleys. Like they managed to somehow make all the sound effects relatively close enough. Like it's so creative with what people are doing now with it, where it's like it's not just levels. It's like you can just sit there and it'll do this entire thing. It's like that's just flat out cool.
That guy did that with Metroid as well. He did Auto Zelda and Auto Metroid, and they're both
awesome.
Amazing.
The auto levels I got kind of sick of the auto level trend, but the auto level tied to music sounds pretty badass.
Well, it just reminds me of like the genesis of this game, which was Mario Paint, and there was that music component to Mario Paint. Yeah. So I feel like
a little quacking sound effects. Totally.
And I don't know if you've just left your. I haven't turned off my Wii U in like a month, but like I leave Mario Maker on, and sometimes these like flies get on the screen. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
It's like straight out.
I don't leave it on overnight or anything. So.
It's straight out of Mario Maker. So you start tapping on it. You start swatting the flies on like your editor screen, and it unlocks some other game, and you start playing this game where you're like, it's bizarre. I don't know.
That's very Nintendo hiding something random like that most people will never see.
No one notices it. They just think there's some flies on the screen. But I don't know. My friend had Mario Paint growing up, so I remember like.
Yeah, the fly swatting minigame. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they brought that back.
It was good. It was a good minigame. Yeah, the one level that I saw online, it was like a GIF or something of just like the P blocks. It was a stage composed completely of P blocks and spikes, and the P blocks like stay stable enough for you to jump off of them for like a split second. So it was just like jumping from P block to P block, avoiding these spikes. It was insane. I don't know. I don't even know. Like, I'm afraid to try expert mode because I'm afraid it's just gonna be levels like that, and I'll be like, "Fuck this game!" Like, I will get so angry.
Yeah, I really don't spend whole lot of time just playing random people's levels, just because Shaq has had that. We have a Google Doc that's been growing for like a month now, and at the same time, it's just like I want to beat my friends' levels. I have a few friends that work in game design, and like they made 2D platformers in the past, so this game is like perfect for them, and they're making these insanely hard levels. For me, it's like it's about beating Ozzy's level and then tweeting at him that he's a jerk. That's what
Yeah,
that's what this
exactly.
game is about.
There's a social component which I think honestly Nintendo could beef up a little bit, make it a little easier to.
I mean, we saw it
the social side.
We saw it this last week with Klepek and Reichert over there. I guess they're not both at Giant Bomb anymore, but
yeah, Klepek is Kotaku now.
Yeah, but they had this huge feud over Twitter about whose level is better. I think it ended up with people donating to charity, so that's cool. But yeah, it just shows you like this game is creating like blood feuds between friends. And
I mean, Extra Life is coming up. I feel like that's something that we need to engage with for Extra Life.
Oh, that would be awesome!
Get some Extra Life Mario Maker going.
When is that?
Early November. I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but
okay. I have to save up some money for that.
So you can just drop some money in. Yeah. So I've been playing Metal Gear Solid. I'm still trying to finish. Well, okay. I'm gonna need to parse terms. I'm still trying to finish it. I finished it, but there's another ending. It's a very weird. Like you get to the first ending, which wraps up the main like conflict. Kind of resolves the sort of main thrust. But then there's just more missions and more stuff to do, and they're like coming in Chapter 2, and they have like a little preview of it. Chapter 2 I know is a bit shorter than Chapter 1. Chapter 1 was probably like a solid 40, 50 hours. Chapter 2 is only, like 10 missions or so. But apparently that's the putting the bookend on the series as a whole ending, which some people are very satisfied with, and other people it's really pissed off. And so I'm trying to get to the end of that to see exactly what is going on with that.
I can definitely understand them getting pissed off. It's like we're watching kind of essentially the end of a franchise that we've grown up with.
Well, you have like all these expectations at that point of how everything needs to wrap up, and especially with Kojima's level of crazy, which this one is for the most part like slightly less crazy. Like the villain has like a somewhat plausible plan, even if it's kind of based on like crazy junk pseudoscience. It's like, okay, I can see how this plan within the internal logic of your game like kind of makes sense.
I don't know. I think it was inevitable that the community around MGS was going to be sad about this game because this is Kojima's last Metal Gear. So even if they do make another one, it's not going to have that same feel to it.
I mean, there was no way to like satisfy people. I think. I don't know what the criticisms are. I just know people are generally angry because I haven't done it and I've been avoiding spoilers. But I think people are just disappointed that I've heard the term half-assed thrown around, and I don't know exactly why. But this is what's spurring people to think like, oh, there's a hidden Chapter 3, and that's going to be the thing that resolves all of our problems with this. And that's probably crazy. I don't think that's actually true. But if people feel unsatisfied enough that they think there must be more to it, I don't know if that's a great sign.
Well, if they believe that, I got some Half-Life 3 pre-orders to sell them.
Yeah, any day now. And it's got the portal gun in it, didn't you hear? Anyway, so yeah, the original ending, the first ending was perfectly satisfying for me just as the ending to this game. So I'm kind of okay with whatever they do with the other thing. But I'm not like a crazy Metal Gear fan. I'm sort of a casual fan. I'm a crazy fan of this game because this game in particular is like my favorite of the series. The open world thing just is exactly what that series needed, and it's been great. But that's basically all I've been playing, and I've been putting in a couple Destiny missions here and there, but very slowly clawing my way through the Taken King missions, basically. That's pretty much it for me. So let us move on to our big topic this week. As I mentioned, Player retention, how game companies keep us around. I'll read my little pitch to the chatty community. The advent of internet-connected gaming has led to a gold rush of player retention. The longer developers and publishers can keep your interest, the better chance you'll give them money directly through downloadable content, or indirectly keep the community alive to encourage new players to join. This has led to a wealth of retention strategies aimed at keeping you playing longer, all against a backdrop of gamers with voracious appetites consuming and trading in games at a rapid pace. This week, we're talking about player retention from downloadable content to expansions to regular planned updates to live teams like the one supported by Destiny's recent microtransactions. What player retention strategies work the best? Which ones are most palatable? What bad retention practices need to be abandoned? And is retention a lost cause in a gamer culture that constantly looks forward to the next big thing? Obviously, I threw a lot of questions at you, but I think we can open up this with the topic that sort of made it topical. We generally try to tie these to some sort of recent or current news event, and the tie-in for this is basically the Destiny live teams, the DLC that went on, microtransaction DLC that went on sale this week, where you can buy dances and silly points and such. And their justification for introducing these microtransactions, which I don't know if I'd call it microtransactions when you can only buy them in increments of $5, $10, or $20. But anyway, the justification for these microtransactions was, well, it's going to support a live team so that we can have more live events. And those who have been playing Destiny for a while know that the live events have been very inconsistent so far, and so this is supposed to make it more consistent. The question came, why wasn't that already part of your plan if you have this long 10-year plan? But that's definitely like a very clear sign that they just want to keep people playing, and the live team is going to be part of that, and the microtransactions as a way to support that is part of that. So as a sort of postscript to the rest of the Destiny experience, this struck some players as weird. Tyler, I called you our other Destiny fanatic, our other young Destiny fanatic. As a Destiny player, how do you feel about the sudden introduction of microtransactions to Destiny?
I've always never been a fan of microtransactions, regardless of what the game is. Like, I'm more of kind of a purist. Like, when I buy a game, I'm expecting it to be the full thing. And now, like, take for instance, we got Dishonored the Definitive Edition for Xbox One and PS4, for instance, or how we got all these expansions for Destiny, The Taken King now. It doesn't feel like they really finished the game when you first come out with it. Like, I'm trying to think,
especially in the case of Destiny, right? That was the criticism of it. Like, this game feels like you left a lot on the table, and then
then Taken King came out and fixed a lot of those problems.
Yeah, the following year has been like, oh, this is the rest of the stuff that they must have meant to put in their original game.
But the thing that I always have an issue with is when you come to like microtransactions. Now it's like, oh, you have extra story mission DLC that you can buy, or like say Mortal Kombat X with extra characters and extra skins that you can unlock, or for whatever reason, easy fatalities became a thing now on that. It just feels like I'm not buying a game. I'm investing into something else entirely, almost.
It's like you're buying the starter set for something that they expect you to invest in further as you go.
Yeah, it's like there's a picture I've seen online a few times where it's like where they kind of compared games to like today to games yesterday. Like how the games yesterday were like a burger. It's like you got everything on it right away. Now you get now if it's like the same burger with today's games, it's you get the burger and the bun, and then now you have the DLC is like cheese and the condiments. Ketchup is GameStop exclusive. Mustard is a Best Buy exclusive and stuff like that. And it's
you got to go to both Best Buy and GameStop to get the ketchup and mustard.
Yeah, you don't get a full game necessarily anymore. Like there are games that still put everything all out there and they don't add anything to it, but with a lot of the more big name franchises, you're getting a lot of added content later on. It's like we met the deadline with what we wanted to give you, but now we'll give you all this extra stuff now and still sell that to you.
I think it comes down to whether or not you feel like the package is complete when you first get it, because a lot of people's problem with Destiny in particular was like this feels incomplete. Like they couldn't put their finger on what was missing. They couldn't say like they wouldn't identify the things in the Taken King and be like these 5 or 6 things are the things that this needs. But people complain that like this doesn't really feel like a finished game. Meanwhile, there are other games that release like Batman Arkham Knight. I feel like it's not a great example because I thought that game was merely like pretty good. But but like it's a game that like it felt like a complete game. So when they're releasing like the Batgirl DLC or whatever, that's not like, you know what this was missing? Batgirl. You know, like nobody feels like that because the original game felt satisfying by itself. Something that you brought up that I think we need to tie into this. There's a trend lately to use these sort of free-to-play strategies in paid games. You know, these strategies that have sort of been forged by League of Legends and things like that, where like, oh yeah, you buy new heroes. Like games like Evolve had a very aggressive DLC strategy that was very similar to that. Rainbow Six Siege sounds like it's going to be very similar to that with, you know, buying heroes, basically. I think it's Rainbow Six. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chatty somewhere. But basically, like, it's these $60 products that are also trying to use the League of Legends strategy, and it's like, well, you can't really work it both ways. You need to like kind of choose one or the other. If you want to go with a League strategy where you're offering a bunch of stuff to buy to give it legs, then you just kind of need to offer it like either free or super cheap to begin with, right?
Right.
What do you think of that?
Of adopting free-to-play models in games that cost $60, I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed every time I hear about it. I haven't bought a lot of those games as a result. Like Evolve, I was super excited about it at E3. Like it looked really fun. And then I guess, you know, going back to what Tyler was saying, it's not like they're really separating the tomato and the ketchup or whatever the hell he's talking about. But it's like it's just like the game itself was pretty stripped down. And for me, it's like if you're going to do that whole let's be like a MOBA thing, how about simultaneously make it a fair, equitable thing where if you play the game a lot, you get in-game currency that reflects the time you spent. Because, like, you know, I think, you know, kind of broadening this to other other titles like NBA 2K, if you're like a 12-year-old kid that can just grind all day long in that, you don't have to spend $40. I met like one of my nephew's cousins, and he's like 15. He's like, yeah, my player is like, I'm in my 5th season with my creative player, and like he's maxed out all his stats. I'm like, how much did he spend on it? He's like, oh, nothing. I'm like, I don't have the time to do that. So I get why they've created this shortcut for people, the pay to win strategy. But at the same time, like, it hurts the quality of the game experience. Like, because I don't know. I just think there has to be a proper balance to it.
This is a broad topic, and we actually have a lot of comments to get to, but I want to sort of, before we drift away from Destiny, I want to talk about something that Ricky Tiki 2 said. He basically said incremental progress matters so long as some meter gets filled every time you play, and that leads to something being unlocked. Like that's his idea of like what's a good retention strategy, and I bring that up in the context of Destiny, even though he didn't say Destiny, because the complaints, as somebody who reviewed Destiny and played it in the first place, the complaints was once you hit the level 20, once you hit the end of the game, it just felt like endless grinding, and you weren't necessarily getting any progress whatsoever. You would like go on a run and take your Ingrams back to the Cryptarch, and it could be a blue, but then he gives you a piece of green gear out of it, and you're just like, what the hell? You know, like that was one of the first things they fixed, and now they just fixed the light system altogether, where instead of being sort of this thing that's assigned to weapons, it sort of works in reverse, where it's not assigned to the weapons and it grants you light, it's your base stats come to an average that becomes your light level. So those things have really helped it feel like every time you go on a mission, even if you just have 20 minutes to just run one mission, you're going to come out of there with some stuff, some experience, some more light, some gear, some crafting materials. You're always going to come out with stuff, and I feel like that's the main thing that they fixed in the Taken King and why people are so much more satisfied with it now. So good comment, Ricky Tiki. So, for a single-player game, Valken also brought up, for a single-player game, Diablo 3's patches add content and works really well. And Diablo 3 has been supported. This isn't him talking, this is me. Diablo 3 has been supported for years. I mean, that game came out years ago, and they are still releasing stuff for it every once in a while. So he says, it's a good example, and it's only gotten better over time. The season competitive stuff is also real good to compete with the community and have incentives only visible in those modes. In general, any update that adds something new that is worth going back to or makes you want to continue to see the new stuff. So this kind of goes back to what we've talked about before with going back to games. What draws us back as far as retention, and that might be enough to make you keep your copy and not give it to GameStop. You know.
No, I think Amusatron and Mobab kind of hit on exactly what I thought when I read this topic was a game or a franchise that supports modding. You're just going to retain your community way better because you're allowing the community to make stuff for you. I think you can look at Skyrim as an example of that, or
I was
going to say more recently City Skylines. I don't think that game would have been nearly as popular or had the kind of staying power that it does without the mods.
I mean, where would we be without the Macho Man Randy Savage Dragon and Skyrim mod? I mean, I think that just made the game a whole 1,000 times better, personally, but that's just me talking.
Modding is like this different animal kind of altogether in a way, because it's like that's retention on PC, which is a very different kind of strategy. On consoles, you don't want people to drift off and trade their games back. On PC, that's not really a problem. People can't trade their PC games back, but you just want to keep the player base healthy and happy and talking about your game, because there's just infinitely more competition on the PC with the indie scene, you know.
But no, I think modding has a lot to do with creating, some retention. And I think Surgeon mentioned something. The game can be fun. A fun game will retain people's attention. So, like, for me, we were talking about last week, I played Gears of War 3 for, 3 or 4 years, just because I loved that game. I loved playing it. I still go back and play, Tony Hawk 3, and I know we had mentioned how terrible Tony Hawk 5 was, but, I just think the fact that a game is fun makes you want to keep playing it. I think it's so simple, but at the same time, it's a very important thing for a developer to remember. You can make this super complicated MMO that no one wants to play at the end of the day because it's not fun.
But on that note, do you think that these player retention strategies, to read Surgeon's comment that you're sort of referencing, he says this is possibly a naive thing to say, but I believe if a game is accessible and deep and fun, it comes up with the quality of Team Fortress 2 or Battlefield 2, the gameplay alone will retain players much better than artificial content updates or progress meters. So it'll stand the test of time on its own. I think he's definitely, I agree wholeheartedly, he's definitely right. But do you think that these player retention strategies are ways to sort of hedge when they don't know whether or not they have that lightning in a bottle? Because the games that he referenced, Team Fortress 2 and Battlefield 2, it's like, how do you even replicate that success consistently?
Yeah.
You don't always know if you're going to have a mega hit on your hands that is going to last years and years. So you might think, well, maybe we need to put in some hooks here and there to make sure that this keeps its interest.
Yeah, but I don't know if they necessarily make sure or not. It's an attempt. But look at Evolve. They tried to make they tried to retain their users, but people never even bought the game.
Well, it ended up, I think, in Evolve's case especially, their retention strategy ended up pushing people away. It had the exact opposite effect that they wanted it to.
That's what I'm saying. Is if you're already doing that, you may have failed already, because you should be confident in your game that you're not already hedging your bet. You might have made a bad game if you're hedging your bet like that, is what I'm saying. But you're right. You're right. It's almost impossible to know. You can spend years developing a game, it's beautiful, and then you don't know if it's going to be a success or not. So, especially for a smaller studio, coming up with things at launch is a good idea. But yeah, I think, but I personally, just being fun is important. You're right, Team Fortress 2, how often does that game come along?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. How would they have even known? At this point, Team Fortress 2 is basically a different game than when it launched. Between the mods and the hats and the several different modes that didn't exist when it launched. But when it launched, even compared to today, when it launched, it was bare bones. But even that bare bones core was enough that people were like, "This is just really fun," and I just want to play it over and over again for hundreds of thousands of hours. And so it sort of developed into this long-term thing itself, through the power of its own fun, rather than being something that Valve necessarily was like, we need to make sure that this blah blah blah, which is an important distinction. I don't think Valve was like, we need to make sure the game's especially fun so that people keep playing. It's like, well, yeah, of course they're trying to make it fun.
No, but it's the key to, like, I think a lot of creative or a lot of tech things is you create something that didn't exist that you want, and it ends up being successful. I think that describes a lot of very successful products. It's like kind of how you, I don't know. You have to have inspiration behind a product, or else it's going to end up like Evolve. And I'm sure the guys who made Evolve were very passionate about it, but somewhere down that road, like
something goofed.
Yeah, something bad happened.
Something changed. Yeah, I mean the guys who made the game, I feel like that was, I don't know because I don't know inside the studio, but to me it always came off like that was some sort of publisher getting in the way of the developer kind of business, because the guys that I actually talked to when it was in development seemed like very passionate and proud of this thing, and then you have all this kind of weird stuff that's attached to it and doesn't feel organically attached to it. It feels like it was kind of tacked on.
Yeah, it feels rushed and tacked on, and I think it was because Evolve was supposed to fill the space, that it came out the year after GTA 5. So there's this huge revenue gap in the company. So they're like, Evolve's going to do it for us, and we're going to do all these things to make sure Evolve is... They were trying to compete with Destiny at that point. They were like, Evolve's going to be bigger than Destiny. And it's just funny because... Well, they were wrong, but honestly, like, at first, it looked like both of them were flopping.
That's true.
They looked like these huge budget things, and you can look at both of them as a case study for how to turn around the ship. And I just think Bungie figured it out a little faster. I mean,
to be fair, I think Destiny, despite all of its problems at launch, it did sell like crazy because they had this insane ad campaign behind it and stuff. And I think Evolve didn't really have that going for it, so maybe the publisher had less faith to be like, we'll give you more money to fix it.
I mean, I wish I had $500 million to market for Shack News. It'd be pretty easy.
Yeah, $500 million, and they didn't have a live team in the plans. What? I don't understand that. I'm sorry. I don't get it. But we need to talk about mods. Sorry, Tyler, go ahead.
Okay, no, we can talk about mods. I just had a curious point of, like, when it comes to player retention, what kind of things will we talk about in terms of, like, games with the morality meter, as I like to put it, like the Red Dead Redemptions, the Infamous, the Dishonored, where you're gonna
like multiple playthroughs.
Yeah, because you're gonna play through it again more than likely to get the good ending, the bad ending, or however many endings you decide to throw in there.
I think that's an interesting point. That's kind of what I was about to ask, or similar to it. I think that's an interesting point because, like, all those games that have those morality meters or multiple choices and things like that, like Dragon Age and Mass Effect, are the ones that kind of come to mind. The BioWare games that have these branches that you're like, oh, I can play this completely different character in this completely different way. I always kind of tell myself I'm going to do it twice, but then I never do. Like, I get through once as my main, and then I move on to another game, and then eventually I might go back and try to start up another game, but I never really see it through. That's probably just on me. But I mean, the game that I got the closest to doing it with was Dragon Age Origins, which had 6 different origin stories, and I think I played one main game. Actually, I think I played 2 main games all the way to completion, and then the other 4 I just played their opening prologue section to see what the different origins were. But yeah, that's a way that publishers always talk about adding longevity to games, and that players think of as adding longevity. But just speaking for myself, I never follow through with it. I wish I had more time to.
I mean, I try to do it when I can. It's the only game that I've actually played through both the good and the bad endings was Dishonored. And I had more fun, trying to do it the good way, trying to kill as few people as possible, unless it's absolutely necessary. But it's when I did it the way where it's just go in, guns blazing and all that, it just felt like steampunk COD at certain points.
Yeah.
So, I liked the game as a whole. It was just a matter of, I think it's more depending on the way the player chooses to play it. So if you want to play as the good guy, go for it. If you play the bad guy, go for it. But it all depends on the player's perspective. It's all right, they're putting me in this world. What can I do? This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I think that brings up sort of a related issue. That achievements and trophies aren't as much of a thing anymore, but there was a time that those were a really powerful player retention tool because they would basically signal you towards playing the game in a different way that you might not have thought of. And I think that was that was a cool thing, and I don't think they're really used for that purpose, or at least if they are, they're not as publicized in public, and people don't care about them as much. It seems like.
Like they still exist. It's just they're not as prominent as they used to be on like 360 or on PS3, where it's like
it's just
know,
like a background feature now instead of like a standout thing.
I've always felt that the Xbox Live achievements were just. I felt better getting them than the PlayStation ones. Like,
yeah, because the PlayStation ones were very literally tacked on. Like,
it's like
there was a good couple of years there that PlayStation 3 trophies did not exist, and they had to add them in.
I mean, Nintendo still doesn't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean they do it in game sometimes, but not. Yeah, but going back to that, I was saying going back to that like the ethics meter or whatever. A great game for that was Infamous or Second Son specifically, where you really got two experiences. When you played
and
it.
And that ending, I recall the ending. If you played the bad version, like got like frickin' dark.
Real dark. Oh my god, very dark.
I got to that ending. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, I mean I thought that game's very underrated.
I mean, it was picked it up recently.
It was a launch title, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think launch titles in general kind of get, swept away because it's just like it was the standout of the launch, but people just think of it as like launch title. Yeah.
If you're near a YouTube machine, you should find Hip Hop Gamer talking about Infamous Second Son. It's pretty hilarious.
So a couple minutes to close out the segment. We have to talk in more detail about mods, but first I want to ask very quickly. We've talked a lot about bad retention strategies, and I think mods are a very example of a good retention strategy. What other good ones, top of mind, come to mind? What is a good retention strategy? Not just making a game fun, but Tyler mentioned multiple playthroughs. That's a pretty good retention strategy. Like, what's something that we're actually okay with as gamers that we would like to see more of?
Splatfest. You know how they're doing that the every so often crazy thing in Splatoon?
Splatoon. Like they planned out this whole summer of content that they call it. They even called it the summer of something. I don't remember.
Yeah, but I think stuff like that where it's like you're taking the game. And even Team Fortress still does it, where it's like Halloween, you get costumes. Like I just think creating a seasonality to it and making the game extend beyond just what you paid $60 for. So whatever, I'm not going to get too specific, but I use Splatoon as one example of that. But creating these events around the game that make you want to come back to it is a way that outside of what we saw in the chatty just now. But that would be one. I don't know.
That's almost kind of like a live team,
yeah.
I get the sense that Nintendo could just kind of had all that stuff designed ahead of time. They don't seem like the type to. They don't seem like the type to be like developing as the game's out and be like, hurry it up, we've got a deadline,
Yeah.
because they're always so polished and they're very insistent on having it at a certain level of quality before they release it.
Well, yeah, they work on games for like 3 to 5 years before they release it. So
yeah, and then they announce it like 3 to 5 months before it comes out.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that system. I like we announced it and now it's out.
Did you see that? Did you see that Twilight Princess is coming to the Virtual Console?
I have heard rumors. Yes,
I'm very excited.
I don't know if it's confirmed yet.
Zelda.
It's not confirmed, but
Twilight Princess is like it's probably my least favorite of the 3D Zeldas, but it's still it's got some cool qualities. I remember the dungeon that's like a log cabin on the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
And you don't even really know it's a dungeon until you're just kind of like looking around and you're like, wait a minute, there's some dungeon-like stuff around here.
Rodent infestation of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. You go in thinking you're just like visiting a house because that's what it looks like, but then as you start noticing,
because you got the sections where it's like you're literally going around grabbing ingredients for soup, and it's just like you go to the pantry and go get me this pumpkin.
Things like that sort of break out of the Zelda formula of like, okay, now we go to a dungeon and we get the power up, and now we go to another dungeon. Like that was a cool little break.
Absolutely.
We're getting a little
off without the snowboarding thing. The snowboarding mini game I can't live without.
I think everyone could have lived without the snowboarding.
I'm a tangent and non sequitur machine, so sorry about that.
It's fine. We're going to talk briefly about mod support because a lot of people brought up mod support. Mobab, I want to read his comment in particular. Amusatron actually said the fact that people are playing Morrowind for crying out loud is testimonial. I like that. Mobab said, mod support is a great way to keep retention, bug fixes, texture packs, nude mods, which he crossed out, new content, etc. brings new life into the game. We see threads all the time about Skyrim, City Skylines, Minecraft, Quake, and Doom, and how someone or team changed something about the game, so then we have to reinstall and check it out. So it's unfortunate that the developers' quest to curb cheating online will often prevent a good game from being great, and in some cases, SimCity will actually hurt the game. So he brings up a good point. When people bring out some new mod, if you have that in your Steam library, even if it's not installed, you might just be like, yeah, sure, I'll download it and check out that mod. And I think Skyrim especially, like, if you read the gaming subreddit, like, I think it's just gaming or video games.
Yeah.
Like, I swear there will be a week that, like, half the stuff on there is like Skyrim mods, you know. Like, it's like look at this screenshot that looks like a freaking photograph of a picturesque hill. It's a Skyrim mod. It's all of the Skyrim mods, all turned up to max settings. So part of it is, of course, making things more beautiful, which Skyrim
some
is big
mods,
on.
though, it's just to make the game more fun. Like I brought up the Macho Man Randy Savage Skyrim mod, having the dragon literally look like one.
Because you can do crazy shit.
What's the other one? I think it's GTA 5 with their car cannon, where someone actually just has...
Oh god, that was awesome.
There's a weapon, and it just shoots all these like cars, and you just shoot into oncoming traffic. It's like, well, I didn't think this was going to be as much fun as it is, but it's absolutely wonderful.
GTA 5 on PC is a great example, because that game, like, talking about... Like, I bought
That's
that
the
game
other half of
3
the gaming
times.
subreddit.
Yeah, it is. I bought that game 3 times, and then I finally got it for PC, and I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. Like, finally mods, you know? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. City Skylines is a great example, because that game by itself is great. Once you add mods, it becomes like Game of the Year contender. It really does. Don't laugh. You're fired.
No, I remember. No, I remember you loved City Skylines.
Well, my point is, like, it goes back to that whole creating a fun experience. Allowing your community to fix problems that you didn't even see or you didn't think existed, just by definition will retain the community.
Well, that's the strength of the mod community in general, right? Like, because you can test a game a billion times, but you're never going to test it as much as, 50,000 people all buying it. You know, like they're going to notice stuff that you didn't, or find ways to improve it.
Totally.
I think that this is especially pertinent because we're kind of right around the corner to Fallout, which is going to be, I'm sure, modded like crazy, because Fallout 3 and New Vegas both were modded like crazy. New Vegas, I feel like, was probably modded more for fixes at first than anything else, because it was a super broken game. But Fallout 4, I'm sure, is going to be modded, and they're actually having an interesting strategy of offering at least some mods on consoles this time.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work, and they haven't said a lot about how it's going to work.
It's the Xbox One. It's basically a computer anyway, so I don't know.
But there's things you can do that are like of shady legality on the PC because it's more of a Wild West that you can't really do on consoles, because in that case Microsoft or Sony would be subject to lawsuits, you know?
Yeah.
So there's going to have to be some level of oversight to that sort of thing. So it's not like it's going to be a wide open marketplace of mods. But hopefully there's at least a good little library of them.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to be able to do, like, the texture updates or the performance updates on an Xbox One, because that thing's...
Yeah, that stuff wouldn't work anyway.
Yeah, it's going to break it or it won't work. So I think you're right. Like, it's going to be on Microsoft to curate a lot of the mods. Is it going to also be on PS4? I thought it was just on Xbox One that they were going to support. I'm
not actually sure. I'd have to look into it again. And
if I remember from E3, I think it was just on Xbox One. But yeah, I think the curation of those mods is going to be an issue for them. Whereas you're right, on PC, you can have a crappy mod up on the store, you can have a great mod up on the store, it doesn't matter. You can have nude mods, people don't care. But what I'm wondering is, you're saying, it opens them up to liability. Why doesn't it open up the developer to liability on PC? If that's the case. I know it's the Xbox brand or it's the PlayStation 4 brand, but at the same time, it's Bethesda. And Bethesda has all this nasty crap going on from all of their mods, and no one's boo-hooing them. No one's like saying, they should be stopped for allowing this indecency in Skyrim. There's no. I think that's a weird double standard from PC to console. But either way,
it is pretty bizarre.
Either way, I'm sure.
So it sounds like our consensus is like mods are like
crashes. That's the consensus.
mods are like the way to the top tier way to retain users. I think we're going to move on to newsy bits here in a moment.
Well, I think
have final thoughts?
Even mods, though, it goes back to what Surgeon said about being fun. Like, half of the mods are trying to make the game more fun or make it run better. So, but yeah,
or trying to do some goofy shit like adding Macho Man
or car cannons, or being able to be a monkey in GTA. Like, I don't know,
like turning this game that you might love for the story and all that stuff into like a toy. Like.
I think
Skyrim takes itself very seriously in the main story, but then you can like be playing these like kind of goofy, weird mods that are like, now this mod adds like 1 billion wheels of cheese to your house.
That's what I need.
I need all that cheese.
Mods though is it's more of with mods you want it to be kind of better for it's better for sandbox games like the GTA's, the Skyrims. It's like where it's a lot more open world because you get a lot more freedom once you get the mod added to it as well.
Yeah, it doesn't work as well for, straightforward shooters and stuff.
Well, I'm not going to put a car cannon in Mario or anything, but although I'm kind of...
Oh, man, that's a great idea.
Hey, what are you talking about?
Mario Maker needs
a cart cannon in Mario.
Oh, my God. We just created DLC for them right there. I'm all about that car cannon.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Good idea, Tyler.
You're hired.
Now I'm rehired. Yes.
You're rehired.
All right, we're going to move on to newsy bits. Our first newsy bit, just a moment of utter insane absurdity from Treyarch and Activision to promote their upcoming Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Right?
Yay,
yeah, 3.
Another $60 map pack.
Treyarch and Activision apologized for fake terrorism reports. Basically, they sent out tweets kind of late at night, and it was from the official Call of Duty account. So it's like, why would Call of Duty be tweeting about this if it weren't part of their marketing? But they basically sent out tweets about an explosion on a Singapore dock and things like that. Just really like not in good taste and and kind of dumb. So very quickly the next day they apologized. This seems like it was trying for some sort of element of realism in their war game. Maybe went a little too far. What do you think?
Maybe a little too far from what I'm like.
Maybe
I don't want to say it's like
pretending that people might be dead.
They should have, if they're gonna do something like that, at least pick a place that's not real, like not Singapore or something.
Yeah, like Fakistan, like whatever.
But this is the same company that spent $500 million marketing Destiny. So like, why are they trying to go viral with this? Oh, let's do a viral tweet. It's like you've got billions of dollars over there. Just
and I mean, like
it on every channel. People are gonna buy Call of Duty Black Ops. You don't need to freaking freak out everyone about a fake terrorist attack. But also, like anyone who believed that, I mean, come on. Like I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw the whole thing, and I was like, whatever.
I mean, it was utterly unbelievable, but it was also just. I think the problem that people complain about is that it was just pretty callous. Like
it's tasteless.
We're very. I think we're very immune, and this is kind of uncomfortable. This is an uncomfortable topic. Obviously, it's about terrorism, but we've been
bring on the brown guy to talk about terrorism.
We've been sort of that was the whole strategy the entire time was because of that newsy bit. We've been sort of like inoculated to thinking about terrorism.
Oh
because,
God,
like,
the MSA's here. Oh,
like basically a week doesn't pass by that you don't turn on the TV and see some foreign country got bombed. It happens so often that I feel like people get numb to it, and maybe because whoever thought up this idea was numb to it, they didn't think it would be a big deal. But it's like, no, seriously, every time one of those things happens, people die. Like actual people are dying, and that's not something that you could just throw out to promote your dumb video game.
It's a really stupid move.
Yeah. It's just something that it's like we know exists now in the world. So it's like when we're even like joking about it or even using it as a marketing point, people are gonna respond to it. Like they didn't do a good job with planning that out. They didn't like fully think out the repercussions before sending out that tweet until like afterward. They're like, oh no.
But do you really?
That was a really terrible idea.
But like, really, do you think the 10 million dude bros that are buying Blops 3 on launch day, do you think they even read that tweet or even care about Twitter?
No, I don't think
they're
they care.
gonna buy that game no matter what because it's a Call of Duty game, and that's all they ever do every year is buy Call of Duty.
I mean, pretty much the only thing it did was get the attention of people like us who pay a lot of attention to games news, and who are sort of urbane enough to be like, that seems not cool,
Well, it's kind of in the same ballpark. Well, not to the same extent, but it's like back on September 11th of this year when Capcom announced a Arab fighter for Street Fighter V, and people were saying it was like, oh, this was tasteless. It's like, no, they were doing it in United Arab Emirates, which last I checked is an Arabic country. They did it because they knew who their audience was. They weren't thinking of America being, all upset about this. It's like they looked at them. It's like, hey, let's release some Arab characters since we're in an Arab place. Great idea.
Yeah, it was a
They
perfectly.
could have picked another day.
But I think that was the
even
day
the
of that
next
conference. I don't know if that was a
But it's
multi-day
like,
conference.
that was at a gaming conference, so I can understand why Capcom's logic was at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. It was.
I think
It was maybe a little thoughtless, nowhere near as thoughtless as this.
I think that was more accidental.
Right.
Like, I don't think that was intentional. This was an intentional effort to get people to watch and pay attention to them. And it's unnecessary.
A really just dumb one. So
totally unnecessary.
Our next newsy bit, I'll move on from the terrorism, which is not something we usually touch on our dumb little video game podcast. But our next newsy bit, I just want to mention this real quick. Hearthstone has issued a nerf to the Warsong Commander. I know that neither of you probably know or care what that means, but basically, I'm going to try to break it down in very layman's terms. Simply, basically, this allowed for a combo that made for a very powerful deck that was so widely used. It was in pretty much everybody who was in the semifinals that took place, I think, last weekend. So basically, they have now suddenly nerfed it in between the semifinals and the finals. So all of those people who had it as one of their 3 decks, they play a mode called Conquest where you need 3 decks. But pretty much everybody had it as one of their 3 decks. All of those people need to find.
What do we do now?
All of those people need to find a different 3rd deck, which I find kind of hilarious. That this kind of broken deck that's been around for months has just suddenly gotten destroyed, right ahead of the finals in early November at BlizzCon. So that's what makes this important. It's probably the biggest news to hit Hearthstone, the Hearthstone competitive scene at least, all year. So
well, Hearthstone's only been out for a couple of years now. So
I mean, in beta it launched.
So big at that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they announced expansions and stuff like that. That's bigger news overall. But this is very specifically striking at the competitive scene in a kind of funny way. I kind of wonder if I was wondering aloud to myself yesterday. They issued another very large nerf in late September last year, and I kind of wonder if they're just waiting until we're right in the thick of the competition to issue these big game-changing nerfs to be like, you can't do that anymore. Figure something else out in the next 2 weeks, professional Hearthstone players. Which I find kind of funny. I'm sure they don't. Anyway, our next and final newsy bit before we move on to beat the briefcase is going to be Jason is coming back to life for the Friday the 13th game. For some background, there was a game called Summer Camp. It was a Friday the 13th homage. It's been in development for a while. They got permission from the Friday the 13th people to use the official characters and title, so they're sort of rejiggering it and launching a Kickstarter to have, the actual
it makes
full-on
me
thing.
nervous when I heard the words we're launching a Kickstarter for a video game. Just
for a game that's already been in development for a year and a half. Yeah, it is a little weird.
I haven't been able to do too much research on it, but my understanding it's a 1 versus 7 game where it's you have 7 players trying to kill Jason, basically. Yeah.
One v multiple. Yeah.
Is cool in its own right. It's just a matter of I don't know how well it's gonna do solely at the fact of I know when I posted about it, my one friend was just Kickstarter campaign. Nope. He's just
yeah. I think that's a lot of people's reaction.
It's
it seems to be doing all right. I mean, they got the Halloween bump. We're in the middle of October, so it was at least smart. It was smartly timed. They announced it on Tuesday the 13th because there is no Friday the 13th anywhere near us.
Yeah,
that's pretty smart.
So yeah, I mean it seems fine. I'm sure it's moving right along. I'm actually going to click on the Kickstarter campaign because I'm curious now how it's doing.
But yeah, I
so far it's raised 291,000 out of 700,000 goals. So
Jeez.
that's a solid between 1/3 and half of the way there.
In a day?
In a day. So
Jeez.
that's pretty good. they're,
Yeah.
they're doing fine.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I don't have a big problem with games using Kickstarter to fund themselves, but you're right. Years into development doing it is a little sketchy.
It is weird. I assume it's just like they need. I don't think it's money to pay for the license, or at least I wouldn't think so, because
I
that
can't
seems like they
imagine.
would have that taken care of up
I
front.
think that's-
I would think it's more like to prove interest and cover changing assets and things like that, and just to finish up the game.
I mean,
they're only asking for 700,000. It's not like it's a huge amount.
Yeah, how much is
what
this game going to cost? Is my question. Like, if they're asking for 700,000 now, how much have they already put in? Like,
I
Yes.
imagine it's going to be like a $60 launch title, probably on PC for sure.
Yeah.
If not,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I
it's planned
was
for
thinking-
PS4 and Xbox too. Yeah.
I was just thinking on the development side, like, it's got to cost them a few million at least if they're.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure. But it's already been in development for a while. That maybe they just ran through that funding and finally got the license that they kind of wanted the entire time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to close the show as we always do with Beat the Doc. This week renamed to Beat the Briefcase. The part of the show in which I abuse my hosting powers by pitting my friends against each other in a pointless game. So, as always, our guest will go first. Today's game is called Mr. DLC. I was trying for a wordplay there. Mystery DLC. As we talked about, DLC is a way to keep player attention and keep people interested in your game. So, I'm going to read an excerpt from the official description of a famous or infamous piece of downloadable content, and you tell me which game it comes from. Bonus points if you can name the DLC itself too. I'm going to be looking for the actual exact title if you go for the bonus points. But if you go for the bonus points and fail, then you don't lose your original points. So, all right. Everyone understand? That was a
Yeah.
little more complex than usual. Tyler, you're going first. Travel to the ruins of this industrial city now called the Blank and discover a secret that could send shockwaves through the entire wasteland. Battle vicious mutated trogs, employ deadly new weapons like the auto axe and infiltrator silenced assault rifle, and decide the fate of the infected slaves and slavers that call this city home.
Ah, crap. I want to say it's from Fallout, but I'm not 100% sure. Like Fallout New Vegas.
It is from Fallout 3. I'm sorry.
Dang it!
It's the pit from Fallout 3, which is why I had to say the blank because that
That
would
was
have been.
so close.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, got to go with the official title. I'll hold Asif's feet to the same coals. So, all right, Asif.
Yes.
Explore every shadowy corner in Minerva's den, unraveling the mysterious past of the Thinker's inventor and the dark secrets hidden within the unfeeling omniscient machine he created.
Minerva's Den, huh?
Any clue? Any clue?
God, I'm so bad at these games. There wasn't DLC for that game, so I can't guess that. I have no idea.
That was BioShock 2, and I'm glad that you didn't know because I actually accidentally named the DLC in my I forgot to say it blank. So the DLC was called Minerva's Den. It was for BioShock.
Oh, come on! This Beat the Briefcase is tainted.
It's rigged. It's rigged, I tell you. But yes,
Okay.
BioShock 2's Minerva's Den was actually very, very excellent DLC. It was probably my favorite bit of BioShock DLC ever. So, Tyler, on to you. As the Prince and Elika, chased by unleashed evil forces, enter the underground palace area and play a brand new region in the fantastic universe of Blank.
Holy crap.
Steve is making these so hard.
I feel like I'm having some giveaways in these, but you're not getting them.
Depends on what games we have played, because so far it's like I haven't even heard a game yet. Like I never played any of the Fallout games, so I didn't even know. I was lucky I got it as close as I did with my
That was
first.
a pretty close guess, though.
Can
We'll
you
say
repeat-
you won with half a point if you both
No,
keep going with 0.
never.
Can you go
So,
read it
You have an
again?
answer?
Can
You
you
want
read
me to say it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
As
not
the
spelling
Prince
bee
and
tactic.
Elika, chased by unleashed evil forces, enter the underground palace area and play a brand new region in the fantastic universe of Blank. Nothing? All right, if you
Witcher
haven't
2?
gotten it by now.
I'm guessing Witcher 2.
No. It is Prince of Persia. I said the word Prince. Like I said, I feel like I have giveaways in these. It is the Prince of Persia, I think 2009 reboot, the one that was all colorful, that everyone kind of hated. And the DLC was called the Epilogue, which is why everyone hated it, because they felt like they were just selling the ending to you for 10 extra bucks. So, Asif, last chance to take the lead before we have to go to a tiebreaker.
Okay.
Tamriel is a dangerous place. Protect your horse from danger with this beautiful handcrafted armor.
Is that World of Warcraft?
Oh, come on! Oh my god, no, it's not World of Warcraft.
I don't know, horse armor. Wait, horse armor.
It's Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, the horse armor pack, the most infamous piece of DLC ever.
I thought that was WoW for some reason. I don't know, I'm retarded. I remember the horse armor.
We're so good at this game. If it doesn't have
this is fantastic.
we are awful at it.
I love how all of my games end with a 0-0 tie.
This is 2 weeks in a row, 0-0.
Now, okay, I've got a tiebreaker. When you know the answer, buzz in. It's probably going to happen fairly early, so I'll warn you. You'll probably have to interrupt me. And the important thing for this, since the answer is going to be fairly obvious, is I'm going to have to insist on the exact title. All right?
Of the DLC itself?
You buzz in of both, of either one.
Game and DLC.
Of the game and or DLC, yeah. So to buzz in, say the word buzz. So, tiebreaker. With Mario nowhere to be found, it's up to Luigi to save the day. Up to 5 players can jump into the fun with Nabbit taking the place of Mario as a playable character. Help Luigi finally prove he has what it takes.
Buzz.
Tyler.
Shoot, now I gotta be specific on it. I know what game it is. I don't remember the exact title now. Isn't it like New Luigi Brothers Wii U?
That is so close.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not
Asif,
it.
do you have an answer?
It's okay. It's Super Mario Bros. The game was the new Super Mario Bros. Wii U or U, and it's New Super Luigi Bros. U.
It wasn't New Super Luigi Bros. U. It was just Super Luigi U. But you got New Super Mario Bros. U. So that is worth a point. So congratulations. The briefcase has won. I thought you would stop me as soon as I said Nabbit. I don't know. But
I knew which one he was talking about as soon as he said Nabbit. I'm like, crap, he wants the exact title.
Asif won, but it's a Pyrrhic victory because he missed horse armor.
Dude, you can tell what games I play religiously and which ones I don't.
If only I had mentioned like Rocket League somewhere in there.
Yeah, there's some serious Rocket League DLC out there.
But it's not very well known. It's not like famous in the annals of DLC history or anything.
It's famous in my annals.
Okay. Let's just end the show. Let's stop it there. There's nowhere to go but down. All right, so that is the show. Please review us and rate us on iTunes if you have the time and interest. Stop, pull over your car if you're driving right now, and rate us. Helps other people find the show, but we don't want you to get into a car accident. So thank you. Thank you to our intern Tyler Wood for coming on the show today. You'll be seeing Tyler's name pop up in sort of random articles when we put him on things. I usually ask for plugs, but I don't think you really have anything in particular to plug.
Well, actually, I do have something to mention. Our Survey of Gaming class at UWGB is going to be helping raise money for the Extra Life campaign, doing a streaming, like 4 to 6 hour thing where we're doing all sorts of events on stream. So when we get more information on that, we can pass it to you guys, and you guys can pass it on to your friends to watch.
Yeah, totally. Like start up a chatty thread.
4 to 6 hours, whatever. We're gonna do 24.
We'd like to shoot for 24-hour gaming marathon, but the problem is the University Unionet campus is only open until like 11, so it's gonna be kind of a weird mix of things. But
Tell them it's for the kids.
It's for the kids. The kids are sick.
Mushrooms.
Help the sick kids. So you can drop a chatty thread when that happens. Definitely contribute to that. It's for a good cause. Also contribute to the Shack News version. In fact, contribute more to the Shack News version, but give them something.
Yeah, we actually did pretty well considering it was our first year doing it. We were in the top 10. So hopefully we can match that again this year.
Hopefully.
I'll have to. I'll have to go rob a bank or something.
We will see. Maybe we'll be able to share some more details about that on a future show. So, anyway, that is the Chattycast. So, for Asif Khan, I am Steve Watts, and we will see you on Chatty.
Bye.